Namaskar. I am Dr. Aarti Chaudhary, Assistant Professor in the Department of Ancient Indian History, Culture and Archaeology at Vasant Kanya Mahavidyalaya, Banaras Hindu University. I welcome you all to this 12-week course titled History of Science and Technology in Ancient India from Harappan Civilization to 7th Century CE. And today we are going to discuss Module 1, Lecture 5. The title of the Module 1 is Introduction to the Course, Definition of Science and Technology, Objectives, Discussion on the Sources. And the title of today's lecture is Scientific Methods as a Source of Science and Technology. In our last class, we have discussed about the India's influence on the other civilization in the field of science and technology. And now, in this class, we are going to study the scientific methods which is applicable in the field of science and technology. If we are talking about scientific methods, then it is completely inseparable with archaeology. If we want to reconstruct the history, if you want to recheck the data, then these scientific methods gives us a realistic logical platform for the data support. So let's start, and we have to discuss about the scientific methods. The learning objective of this lecture is to know the scientific method in the field of archaeology, to understand the material analysis process of different samples, and to explore conservation and preservation techniques. Why is it needed? Then, you all know, we know about the Indian knowledge system. How can we reconstruct the Indian knowledge system? Though we are living in the 21st century and we don't have any connection with the ancient people verbally, we have only text, we have only archaeological sources. So we have to be very, very careful when we are going to reconstruct the past history. How can we do it? Then we have to take help from the scientific methods. This is very necessary if we are going to rewrite the history, re-examine the facts. How can we believe on the all sources that they are really true? We have to recheck it. We have to compare it with the other sources. And to know the scientific data, I already said archaeology is completely inseparable with the scientific methods, because archaeology is not only the study of documentation of material remains, even it is completely interdisciplinary subject. So these scientific methods are really necessary. And these also give a scope for the skill development, skill enhancement. For learning this technique, on the basis of this technique, we can explore our knowledge globally. So these all are the factors which are responsible for the learning of these scientific methods. So let's start and we will discuss it. I just divide this lecture on two parts. At the first part, we are going to study about the scientific method, and in the second part, the different new archaeological methods which is completely combined with the scientific methods. At first scientific method, that is petrological analysis. Petrological analysis in archaeology is the study of ceramic artifacts using microscopic and mineralogical techniques to determine their composition, origin, and manufacturing process. We know in the excavation, we generally got many potsherds, and if we just done the petrological analysis on this potsherd, then we came to know about many interesting things of the ancient past settlement practices. Just like we came to know r- from where the raw material of that particular potsherd extracted by the ancient people and the trade network of the particular region, as well as the technological advancement which is practiced by the ancient potter. These kind of information we can reconstruct on the basis of petrological analysis, because we all know that these potsherds, according to Flinders Petrie, these potsherds are the alphabet in archaeology. So these are very important to study and to reconstruct the ancient past activity. In the second method, that is phosphate analysis. Phosphate analysis in archaeology is a soil chemistry technique used to detect past human activity. And on the basis of phosphate analysis, we can trace settlement pattern of a particular site, how people were using and creating their own landscape, the habitational practices on a particular region, the food consumption area and the garbage area, and the path there which made by the particular region by the ancient people. We can trace the food production and consumption area, the animal husbandry and agricultural practices were done on that particular time. So, the phosphate analysis is very important to reconstruct the past settlement of a particular region. In this process, in this phosphate analysis, we just collect soil sample from the trench, and then it by the process it looks like a pellets that is already on the screen. You can see it, and then it placed under the microscope for the further study, and we can get the amount of phosphorus, in which we can critically examine the amount of phosphorus, and then we can conclude the result of the particular settlement practices. In terms to understand the phosphate analysis, one more important analysis like carbon, hydrogen and nitrogen analysis is also very important, which will be the supportive technique of the phosphate analysis, which gives information regarding the complete settlement practices of a particular region. Now, moving towards the next sampling practices, XRF analysis of soil sample. X-ray fluorescence XRF is a spectroanalytical technique suitable for direct soil analysis requiring minimal or no sample preparation. It don't require any hard technique for the sample preparation. It is a simple sample preparation technique. The recent advancement in optical and electronic components have enabled the miniaturization of this technique, making it practical for use in hybrid laboratories and in the situ analysis. XRF sensor shows potential for proximal soil sensing but have been poorly explored for tropical soil. Now, SEM EDX technique. SEM and EDAX are powerful techniques for analyzing the microstructure and composition of samples, providing valuable insight into the properties and characteristics of materials. SEM stands for Scanning Electron Microscope. It is used to study the morphology, topography, and composition of samples, including archaeological materials such as pottery, metal, and bones. EDAX stands for Energy Dispersive X-ray Spectroscopy. It is commonly used in material science, geology, and archaeology to identify the elemental composition of samples such as metal, alloys, or pottery glaze. Phytolith analysis. Phytolith analysis is an essential tool for archaeologists to understand the role of plants in past human societies and to reconstruct past environmental and landscape. We can see if you go to the sugarcane field, then it scratch your body part. Do you know why? Because the amount of the lith which is present in the plant. On the basis of phytolith analysis, the scientists trace the different shapes on under the microscope by the study of the soil, and on the basis of that shape they decide whether the field was occupied by wild species of cereal or domestic species of cereals. Next is strontium test. Strontium test, strontium isotope analysis, a method used to determine the geographic origin and mobility of past human and animal populations by analyzing strontium ratio in teeth and bones. On the basis of strontium test, we can trace human and animal migration, trade and exchange networks, diet and environmental studies, and burial and social structure analysis. So, on the basis of strontium, the amount will be traced by the scientist, and on the basis of that amount, they can analyze these kind of information we can see on the slide. Next is carbon 14 analysis. Very important analysis. You must know the name of carbon 14 analysis. It was firstly used by Willard Libby in 1949. It determines the age of organic materials by measuring the decay of carbon 14, a radioactive isotope. After an organism dies, carbon 14 decays at a known rate. The half-life is approximately 5,730 years, and by measuring the remaining carbon 14, archaeologists estimate the material's age. This is absolute dating method. QGIS technique. It is very famous nowadays. QGIS, Quantum Geographic Information System, is an open source GIS software used in archaeology for mapping, spatial analysis, and data management. It helps archaeologists visualize site distributions, analyze landscapes, and integrate various databases like satellite imagery, excavation data, and topographic map. If an archaeologist go to the field for the excavation or exploration or survey, this technique must be followed by the archaeologist. It is very necessary to collect these very absolute data. Next is DNA analysis. Ancient DNA sequencing and mitochondrial DNA analysis provide insight into past populations, diets, and disease. Nowadays, we all know that from Rakhigarhi, there was a burial which is also the topic for the DNA analysis. The excavator sent the burial for the DNA analysis, so we can trace the diet activity, the look, and the DNA, the origin of Harappans on the basis of these analysis. We can very confidently reconstruct the Harappan past study on the basis of DNA analysis. Next is dendrochronology. Dendrochronology is a dating method that involves analyzing tree rings to determine the exact year they were formed. It also provides data for dendroclimatology. Andrew E. Douglas founded the science of dendrochronology. Just see the picture. Every tree grows its own ring inside the trunk, and this ring help us to uh, critically analyze the contemporary climate issues. Like if the ring is very clear or thick, then it means the weather was good. Weather was good means good rain and good sunlight. And if the ring is narrow, then it indicate very cold or dry. So we can easily trace the contemporary climate condition on the basis of these rings. The scientists just count the rings and they can uh, say how old the particular tree is. And you just look here, there is a scar on the ring, and this scar indicate the firing activity on that particular time period. So the dendrochronology is very necessary when we are going to study a particular to find out a particular time period of a tree. Next is palynology. Swedish geologist Lennart von Post was a pioneer in this field. This study analyzes fossilized pollen to reconstruct past climate and vegetation. Each year, plants release vast amount of pollen which settle in lake beds and bogs, where they are most likely to preserve. By analyzing these deposits, scientists establish a pollen chronology determining which species were present at different points in time based or on their placement in deeper sediment or rock layers. By the study of the scientific methods, now we move towards the branches of new archaeology. I already said the scientific methods are deeply associated with the new archaeology, and these archaeological methods can help us to reconstruct the past in a very scientific way. The name under the new archaeology, there are few terminology which is mentioned in this particular site. They are cognitive archaeology, contextual archaeology, environmental archaeology, botanical archaeology, forensic archaeology, computational archaeology, ethnoarchaeology, landscape archaeology, geoarchaeology, climatology, zooarchaeology, biblical archaeology, underwater archaeology, industrial archaeology, experimental archaeology, conservation archaeology, prehistoric archaeology, and historical archaeology. They all consider under the roof of new archaeology with the association of scientific methods. What is cognitive archaeology? Cognitive archaeology is a theoretical perspective in archaeology that focuses on the ancient mind. It is particularly based on two methods, that is evolutionary cognitive archaeology. It is called as well ECA, and second one is ICA, Identical Cognitive Archaeology. The thinking, what they think, the thinking practices of human being over time, it is the study of under the cognitive archaeology. Next is contextual archaeology. Contextual archaeology is an interpretive framework introduced by Ian Hodder in the mid of 1980s. It focuses on analyzing archaeological context to uncover the meanings embedded in material culture. This approach goes beyond conventional artifacts classification by examining objects within their broader environmental, societal, and cultural setting, providing deeper insight into past human behavior and belief system. Next term is environmental archaeology. Environmental archaeology emerged significantly in the 1960s and 1970s. It is a multidisciplinary field that examines the relationship between past human societies and their natural environments. The field provides critical insights into historical climate pattern, agricultural practices, and resources management strategies, helping us understanding the sustainability method used by ancient communities. Botanical archaeology. Archaeobotany, also known as paleoethnobotany, is the study of plant remains from archaeological context to understand past human plant interactions, including agriculture, diet, and environmental adaptation. Gordon Helium established this method particularly in the study of ancient agriculture and plant domestication. His work in the Near East helped identify early cultivated crops and their wild ancestors. Computational archaeology. Computational archaeology combines digital and computational methods with archaeological research. By using technologies like artificial intelligence, geographic information system, remote sensing, and statistical modeling, researchers can analyze large archaeological datasets more effectively. These tools help manage excavation records, historical text, and satellite imagery, enabling the identification of patterns that would be hard to detect manually. GIS and remote sensing particularly play critical role in mapping ancient settlement and revealing hidden sites. AI is increasingly applied to classify artifacts, decipher ancient script, and predict potential archaeological sites. Overall, computational archaeology is transforming our understanding of human history through advancement in technology and data. The ethnoarchaeology. Ethnoarchaeology is a socio-anthropological approach that explores the cultural and social practices of contemporary communities to gain insight into archaeological context. This method involves studying artifacts, dwelling structures, burial customs, and technological techniques of present day tribes or rural populations. By analyzing these elements, archaeologists can better understand the material remains uncovered during excavations. One of the most notable ethnoarchaeological studies was conducted by Lewis Binford, who examined Eskimo societies to draw parallels with past human behaviors. Similarly, Indian scholars like H.D. Sankalia have applied this approach to prehistoric and protohistoric sites in India, enhancing interpretations of ancient material culture. A comprehensive and comparative approach ensures a more accurate reconstruction of ancient lifeway and technological adaptation. Landscape archaeology. Landscape archaeology is a specialized field that investigates the dynamic relationship between human societies and their natural surroundings over time. It examines both the physical characteristics and landscape, such as topography, geology, soils, and vegetation, and the cultural, social, and economic activity that have shaped these environments. Geoarchaeology. Geoarchaeology is a well established subdiscipline of archaeological research that integrates geological principles and methods to analyze soil, sediment, landforms, and stratigraphy. This interdisciplinary approach helps investigate archaeological sites and provides insight into past human activities, site formation process, and environmental conditions. By examining natural and cultural influences on landscapes, geoarchaeologists reconstruct historical environments and assess how climate and geology events shaped human settlements. Biblical archaeology. This field of study seeks to understand the material culture of the ancient Near East and its relationship to the stories and events described in the Bible. It involves excavating, analyzing, and interpreting archaeological sites and artifacts to shed light on the people, place, and events of the Bible. It is completely new branch of the archaeology. Experimental archaeology. Experimental archaeology is a research method that reconstruct and test past technologies, behaviors, and material culture through controlled experimentation. By recreating tools, structure, and artifacts using traditional techniques, researchers gain insight into ancient craftsmanship, resource use, and the feasibility of historical practices. By this method, the student can understand that how ancient men, without the help of modern technology, made their own tool for their own purpose. It is just practical for the students. Conservation archaeology. Conservation archaeology is a specialized field dedicated to the preservation, protection, and sustainable management of archaeological sites and artifacts. Preserving organic material is crucial in archaeology as these materials are highly susceptible to decay due to environmental factors such as moisture, temperature, and microbial activity. Conservation techniques help stabilize these artifacts and prevent future deterioration. Historical archaeology. This field has contributed significantly to the study of post-medieval settlements, colonial expansion, industrialization, and maritime archaeology. Excavation of sites such as colonial towns, battlefields, shipwrecks, and industrial complexes have provided crucial insight into historical events and societal changes. Underwater archaeology. Nowadays, underwater archaeology is very famous and most of the students are interested in this field. Underwater archaeology is the study of submerged cultural heritage, including shipwrecks, sunken cities, and ancient coastal settlements. Using advanced diving techniques, sonar mapping, and remotely operated vehicles, archaeologists explore and document sites preserved underwater for centuries. And the best example of this underwater archaeology is the discovery of the Dwarka. So, on the basis of the scientific method and the uh, new archaeology, which is completely inseparable to each other, we can conclude that the scientific methods serve as a crucial framework for systematically uncovering and interpreting past human activities. By employing rigorous observation, hypothesis testing, data analysis, and replication, archaeologists can build reliable reconstruction of ancient societies. The integration of advanced technologies, enhances the precision and scope of archaeological investigations. This interdisciplinary approach ensures a meaningful understanding of human history. These are the few references you can consult for the better understanding of scientific methods and new archaeology. You can consult it. Thank you for the patient listening. Namaskar.